time in the story we tell ourselves about plastic.
And I wonder if when they created plastic, they would realise that it was going to create such an impact on our world. I mean, you think about the fact that when you come out of the womb, the first thing you come in contact with, probably even before your mother, is a plastic bracelet that says your name on it. It's around your wrist.
David Rothschild is the founder of Adventure Ecology, an organization that harnesses the power of dreams, adventures, and stories in order to inspire, educate, and activate individuals, communities, and businesses to start moving towards a smarter, more sustainable planet.
Sustainable development has become the popularized expression for Agenda 21. Agenda 21 is the 1992 United Nations Rio Declaration on the Environment and Development. Agenda 21 defines itself as the comprehensive plan of action to be taken globally, nationally, and locally. The red are areas that are to be off limits to human beings. If you live there, you won't. The black areas, the black dots, are the smart growth zones that for human beings are to be stacked and packed and children cared for by the state.
An exhibition was focused on climate change and really focused on diminishing ice caps, the fact that they're rapidly melting. And I got back and I was talking to friends and I was engaging with them on this project, and I realized that this was an issue that for the most part just wasn't connected with. We're talking about CO2 in our atmosphere, but it's just, you can't touch it, feel it. I mean, what does a ton of CO2 smell like?
So here we're looking at the ice core record from Vostok, and in the red we see temperature going up from early time to later time at a very key interval when we came out of a glaciation. And we see the temperature going up, and then we see the CO2 coming up. CO2 lags behind that increase. It's got an 800-year lag, so temperature is leading CO2 by 800 years.
There have now been several major ice core surveys. Every one of them shows the same thing. The temperature rises or falls, and then, after a few hundred years, carbon dioxide follows.
The ice core record goes to the very heart of the problem we have here. They said, if the CO2 increases in the atmosphere as a greenhouse gas, then the temperature will go up. But the ice core record shows exactly the opposite. So the fundamental assumption, the most fundamental assumption of the whole theory of climate change due to humans is shown to be wrong.
But how can it be that higher temperatures lead to more CO2 in the atmosphere? To understand this, we must first restate the obvious point that carbon dioxide is a natural gas produced by all living things.
Few things annoy me more than to hear people talking about carbon dioxide as being a pollutant. You're made of carbon dioxide. I'm made of carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is how living things grow.
What's more, humans are not the main source of carbon dioxide.
Humans produce a small fraction in the single digits percentage-wise of the CO2 that is produced in the atmosphere.
Volcanoes produce more CO2 each year than all the factories and cars and planes and other sources of man-made carbon dioxide put together. More still comes from animals and bacteria, which produce about 150 gigatons of CO2 each year, compared to a mere 6.5 gigatons from humans. An even larger source of CO2 is dying vegetation, from falling leaves, for example, in the autumn. But the biggest source of CO2 by far is the oceans.
They talked about those emails that were leaked from the University of East Anglia earlier last month. And they said that those emails had really shaken trust in climate science, and that this process has to be built on a firm foundation of trust, and that a lot of countries could lose out economically.
I'd like to know your opinion about the burgeoning ClimateGate scandal and the IPCC fraudulent emails that have been leaked out, which basically show that the data has been toyed with for decades. And effectively, there's no way to really determine that there's any global warming going on at all.
No, listen, I mean, I'll answer that straight away. No, and I appreciate your viewpoint, and I totally respect that. I mean, that's the end of the day, that's what opinions are for, and that diversity in opinions is what creates change, and curiosity creates change. And, the reality is that climate science is a very, very broad area, and there's many variables in climate modeling that's outside of our control. And unfortunately, because of the pure nature of that has been used extensively by individuals and corporations and governments to manipulate the system, to be able to try and tell us a story that our planet isn't actually changing because of our impact. And we start to create this very futile debate. And it is a futile debate, because at the end of the day, we're only kidding ourselves. No one else is going to lose out apart from us, and our children, and their children, and their children. Right? And so what we have to do is we have to say, okay, let's park that issue, right? Because we're never going to get an agenda that's a global governance event as we saw in Copenhagen, because there's too many vested interests. But let's focus on the things that are fingerprints that are undeniable. The plastic in our ocean, the degradations of our forests, the degradation of topsoil, the collapse of our marine fisheries. Pollution is rife. And you know what? 100 years ago there wasn't plastic. And now we've got fingerprints everywhere that are poisoning our children, poisoning us, and are causing undeniable damage to our natural systems. They are blocking up the code of nature. And so when we look at it, it says, you know what, if you don't believe in that, just go outside and look at what's going on around you. Look at the loss of all these things that we need to support us. Nature is our life support system. So the argument, and if you've been dragged into it, then basically you're a chess piece in the game of big business that is using you to try and believe that we aren't having impact. Believe me, we are.
What's more important, the sustainability that you're talking about, or the 99% of the population that's going to feel the crunch from having to dramatically reduce their consumption?
I think it's both. I think they're one and the same. You can't separate them. I think what we have to do is move from a product-based society to a service-based society. We start to just revalue, what's important to you. Do I need to give you a product? Does that equal happiness?
Yeah.
Do I actually say, hey, listen, I can share some information with you, and you can share some information with you that's just as enriching as handing you a single throwaway item.
David, it would seem like population reduction would seem extraordinarily convenient to this sustainability,
Nature has a way of doing that.
That's great. Good.
Wow. Nature, huh?
Yeah, nature does.
We'll leave
all in the same sandbox, man.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Can I give you a hug?
I've followed you guys, I've seen you, and you've been there, and I love your skepticism and certain things, and you're obviously, everyone's entitled to.
Can I give you a hug?
I'm right.
Okay.
How about a handshake?
Yeah, of course. I'm not human. I don't have any reptilia coming out of anywhere. But I wish I did. I'd be running around doing all sorts of things.
And we'd be getting on camera.
Yeah, you would be. You missed that one.
Oops.
Well, thanks for saying it anyway, and I hope you continue to spread the message.
Yeah, me too, man. For sure.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And I respect your views. I mean, I totally respect your views. That's what we're all entitled to, is our choices. What the most impressive thing about Copenhagen was actually the individuals who turned up, the community groups, the people who were passionate, and said, this is affecting nations on the ground.
God bless the third world nations who stood up, because the deal they were given was absolutely unacceptable.
I agree with you.
And if we really want to talk about the global humanity
And so I know that I'm seen as some sort of, like I said, shift-shaping lizard from the ninth dimension who's blah, 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 blah.
Well, there's a family history, but, the GM thing is...
GM is screwed, man.
Oh, man. Have you seen the latest thing that Monsanto's come out with? It's like nasty. Yeah.
It's so exciting. Yeah. And when you said to me, it's at that high level, but we need to...
Well, the thing is, you're not allowed to even label things as GM in the States. It's messed up.
It's messed up, man.
Yeah. So, DU, if you keep... I know dioxins and phthalates and stuff, they're sort of related to plastics, but all the time...
Are we nuts, though? Are we nuts? And we turn around and we suddenly say, we're all being poisoned. Why are we all sick?